So the original title of this proclamation and service was Songs of Longing and Lament, because last week the scripture passages, both from the Hebrew scriptures and from the Christian scriptures, spoke very deeply of that sense of loss and longing. And guess what? So do today's, in a slightly different way. And one of the things you need to know about the Christian and Hebrew scriptures, which actually sets it apart from much other religious literature, is that so much of it has to do with that sense of loss and longing. Because so much of it is written at a time when either the people of Israel are in exile in Babylonia and remembering what the life that they had and the hope that there may be a return to that life at some point in the future, if not for themselves, at least for their children. And so much of their scripture is about remembering and holding on to that. And so the reading from the book of Exodus this morning, you get the sense that somebody's wandering around behind the people of Israel while they're doing all these things and setting up golden calves. But really, these stories are written much later as a way of saying, here's what we've lost. Here's the promise that we may have it once again. Same thing with the Christian scriptures and the understanding that whoever is writing these scriptures is living in a time of occupation. We have Roman occupation, and the Romans are not particularly kind landlords. And that's a term used directly because they've turned everybody into indentured servants. And so the hope there is too that the people will somehow be restored and the nation will be restored, if not geographically, at least spiritually and emotionally and in terms of a community, that there will be a community that once was that will be transformed and reborn. Now, if you think of the poetry of Robbie Burns, you may know that there are Burns societies in every corner of the world, and I think including Antarctica. And there's a reason for that. It's because the music of Robbie Burns and the Scottish poets was music and poetry that spoke to the people who undertook one of the greatest diasporas in modern history, or in any history, for example. When the Scottish enclosures threw people off the land and sent them to the ends of the earth. And everybody remembered what it was to be at home and have a place. And so they kept those songs and those stories alive as a way of saying, maybe if not for us, but for our children or our grandchildren. And of course, those songs take on a special familiarity, even if you are not Scottish or even if they are not the songs of your own particular heritage, because they speak of that deep longing that everybody has for a place to call home, a community to call home, and that sense that we are not quite there yet. But even in the longing and the lament, there is a promise that it will be. And of course, the songs that you're going to be hearing this morning, that John's going to be singing, take on a special poignancy, as I mentioned earlier, because many of them they all come from the Highlands, but the Highlands and Balmoral Castle was one of the very special places that Queen Elizabeth loved and felt most at home at. So I'm going to just do a brief introduction of each song and just listen and let these songs take you wherever they will, to your home, to the hope that you have for a home or a new beginning or a place of belonging.